Greetings everyone, my name is Greg. In this video I am going to talk about the ideas of a cosmic consciousness or source type of God, if you really insist on using the term God, and the Christian, Catholic, or Muslim type of God. And I contend in this that the Christian, Catholic, Muslim God is really what would be called by any of those three groups the devil. Because according to at least Christianity, I'm not as familiar with Islam, but the omnis seem to be an idea that their God has all three of these, and that their devil would have none of them. And in this, I am going to explain where not only does the God not have any of the omnis, the followers, especially the fundamentalist followers, do not fit within the other two classifications of benevolent or malevolent. But first things first. The aspect with the omnis, the omnipresent. Omnipresent, you can look this up in a dictionary if you really want to. It means present in all places at all times. If that would be true with their God, be it the Christian, Catholic, or Muslim God, could even toss in the Jewish in that aspect, then there could be no hell. Now I recognize a lot of Jews do not believe in hell, or if they do, it is the aspect of the grave. I recognize that. That's why I didn't include Jews in the initial onset of this, but in case some would be wondering why I would be leaving them out, that is why. This idea of hell, the idea that, as I've heard some Catholics try to say, that hell is separation from God, which is actually Catholic dogma. It is not something that is supported in the Bible. But this idea of separation from God is actually impossible with the omnipresent aspect, because if this God is everywhere, then that means there's nowhere that it is not, which means if a hell would exist, that means this God would be there as well. So we can clearly, right off the top, wipe omnipresent off the list. Disqualify. The God disqualifies as far as having that characteristic. Next, we have omniscient, knowing everything, having unlimited knowledge or understanding. This is another one we can wipe off the list for the Christian, Catholic, and Muslim God. The reason being, if this God has ultimate knowledge that there's nothing that can happen that it doesn't know will happen, then why the fuck are we here? If it knows some are going to heaven, some are going to hell, and it already knows everything, that there's nothing that it doesn't know, what the fuck's the point of this? The idea that this is some kind of test, that you have some kind of free will, not with an entity that is all-knowing. Because it would know not only if I'm going to smoke this cigarette, but when exactly I would do so. Like right now. Thing is, the idea of all-knowing, the Christian God is not. The Christian, Catholic, Muslim God is not. Because there are clear, all through the Bible and Quran, aspects where the God either asks questions or does different things where it is displaying that it doesn't know what the outcome will be. Because something that would have all knowledge of everything that will ever occur, number one, it wouldn't have an emotional reaction to any of it. That there's nothing we could do that would piss it off, because it would know and would have known everything we would have chosen to do. And it's one, if you know someone's going to do something and there's no question, So, and it's one, if you have that knowledge and you sit back and do nothing, you must have wanted it to happen. Because that brings in the third, which is omnipotent, having complete or ultimate power. This ties in with the last because, like I was saying, if you know someone is going to do something at a certain time, like let's say you're married and you know on October 15th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever time zone you're in, that your wife is going to be cheating with the mailman. If you know this, and you would have known this for decades or however long you would be alive, that on this date, at this time, this is going to happen. If you have the power to do anything and the knowledge of everything, you could be there to make sure that it doesn't happen. But then that would change what you knew would happen, which creates a bit of a paradox. Because it would be, then you would be knowing the possible futures as well as the future that you ultimately will let unfold. The thing is, the Christian, Muslim, Jewish, all of it, God doesn't have any of these. Because it does not display any of these characteristics. In fact, its behavior in the Torah, the Christian Bible, or Quran all go to support the idea that the God does not have any of these three, which means the God is the devil. Because then we get into two terms that I clarified with my girlfriend just to make sure I wasn't missing one. The term is benevolent or malevolent. The idea, Christians, Muslims, Catholics, what is your God? Is your God benevolent or is it malevolent? You might want to be thinking about this a little bit. Which are you? The term benevolent is defined as kind or generous, marked by or disposed to do good. If you're disposed to do good, and that is your nature, then how would you torture someone? How would you, as a Catholic or a Christian, because the Inquisitions were done not just by the Catholics, but by the Protestants as well as Muslims that have engaged in the brutality towards others that aren't just like them. If you claim to be benevolent, if you claim your God is benevolent, then how can it support your behaviors of this nature? Or how can you engage in this behavior if you claim to be? You can mouth the words that you are, but talk is cheap. Another way I've heard it said is, your actions speak so loud I can't hear what you say. But the definition of malevolent, having or showing a desire to do harm to another person. I contend Christians, Catholics, Muslims are malevolent. That their God is malevolent. Which means, based on their terminology, their God is the devil, and they are acting like the Satanists. Because their desire is to do harm to others. The idea of, be like me, think like me, or else. It is an evil mindset. What it is also doing, with the idea of a force behind the universe, the idea of a cosmic consciousness. I don't have a real big problem with this idea. I don't see any evidence to support it. But I'm open to the idea of it. I'm not as opposed to it vehemently as I am the Christian, Catholic, or Muslim God. Because the thing is, something that would be a force behind the universe, to use the aspect of, like Star Wars, the Force, that there would be the positive and negative side of the Force, that the Force in itself wouldn't have necessarily a good or bad. It would be a combination of the two, the yin and yang. It also ties in with the Christian idea of, in heaven there will be no evil. You can no more take away evil than you can take away the head side of a coin. It is not a matter of being able to say, you can't do what is evil because you don't have the ability. It's a big difference between having it that you are unable to do something and thereby, in a sense, you're good by a default because you can't be anything else, and being one where you reach a point where you could be, I could choose to do what is evil, I could choose to harm others, but even though I could choose to do that, I choose not to. That it's a choice. It's not a matter of you have to because it's an option. And that is something that, if that is what these Christians are saying, I think we, as a society, we need to really, in a sense, mark them, watch them. Not saying we have to put them all in nut huts or, in a sense, put them in jail because they have this attitude of, if they have this ability to do something harmful to someone else, that they have no choice, that they have to do it because they have this ability, that the ability wasn't taken away, so the fact that they can means they will. I still don't go along with the idea of locking someone up prior to them actually committing a crime. But it's unfortunate that someone has to be harmed before we can take action and prevent these people from doing these things. But that's part of our society. It's part of, in a sense, the unfortunate aspects with freedom. That when you have freedom, you have the ability for those to abuse it, and for those people to show their own malevolent nature and their desire to do harm to others. And this is seen most clearly with the Christians, Catholics, and Muslims with the aspect of gay rights and their treatment of homosexuals. Because they are displaying not a desire to do what is good or a loving, kind nature, but a violent, harmful disposition. So in that, we should really be marking these people and knowing this is what they are. It's not a matter of sin, it's a matter of their choice. This is the way they choose to be. And it is something that to use the term of a vibrational frequency, of those that choose to be on a positive frequency, doing what is good, kind, and loving, versus those that want to be on a negative, lower vibrational frequency. The people that are operating in the negative, they're the ones that are the diehard fundamentalist believers. And if that is the vibrational frequency that their belief system goes in line with, the belief system's negative. If it would be positive, it would create a positive vibration. It would create a positive manner of their lives. But you don't see that. you see a very malevolent, wanting harm or wishing harm on others. And you see it most clearly with these hellfire and brimstone assholes that are wishing harm on anyone that doesn't think just like them. Atheists don't do that. I've never heard of a single atheist that threatens anyone with torture if they believe in a God. It simply doesn't work that way. The thing is, if there would be a force or a source behind the universe, the fact that you exist, the fact that I exist, the fact that anybody exists, would mean that that force or source or cosmic consciousness would have wanted them to exist. To say that you're not worthy because of some sin or whatnot is to say that your God fucked up. It is to say that all there is another way of putting it, behind the universe, that all there is screwed up. And that you're really not adequate. This is a human mindset. This is a perception, an idea that has been implanted by a religion that is driven on the desire to keep people under their thumb. It creates a self-esteem complex, insecurity issues, and the aspect of verbal abuse and degrading someone is part of the way the religion is as well, be it Catholic, Christian, or Muslim. It is based on the idea of the God having to tear you down and say you're so horrible or bad by a default position because of some sin concept. It's simply obnoxious. The idea of a source or whatnot having an attitude that you have to believe a certain way, it makes it human. It makes it completely human. Because one of the things that should be known, at least by 2013, we should all be aware of this, that the human vision and our senses, we can only detect with human ears and so forth, we can only detect a certain spectrum, be it of colors that we can see, or sounds that we can hear, or odors that we can smell, so forth. We have a very limited spectrum of what we can pick up on. And for the skeptic or atheist to say that limited spectrum of what we can pick up on, be it either through our human ears or even with our instruments, our equipment, limited spectrum is what there is to the universe. I think that's extremely arrogant.
I want evidence of what would be termed an afterlife or an energy life or whatnot that would transcend physical. I want evidence to support this hypothesis that I have. But there is nothing that would say that there would be any type of torture. Because I do feel if there would be a source or cosmic consciousness or all that is, it wouldn't be malevolent. It would be benevolent. It would be something that loves unconditionally. And the term unconditional is something that Christians really need to get the definition of. And to be clear on in their own head. Because it means without condition. You can't say your God loves unconditionally so long as you meet this condition. That makes it conditional, not unconditional. Unconditional means without condition. I love my girlfriend unconditionally. There is nothing that she has to do to earn my love.
or to be worthy of my love. I love her as a default position. It is unconditional. Nothing she can do would make me stop loving her. There are things that I can no longer live with you. I can no longer abide in the same area, but I would still, I would still love her. The love is unconditional. There are things that people can do that you can be, I simply can't tolerate that. I can't have that. Basically, the idea of if somebody wants to be abusive to you, you can be saying to them, I don't need to put up with this. I don't need to be abused. I don't need to subject myself to your abuse. That the love that you have for them could still be there, but be one of, because of this behavior, I can't be around you. And that is what the Christian God is displaying. It is displaying a behavior that even if it would exist, I would have to say, morally and ethically, I have to oppose you because of this behavior. Because you're doing this. Because you go along with this. Because this is your nature. I have to oppose you. Because that is my nature. There are times I can, when provoked, when pushed, I can come across as very malevolent. But at my core of who I really am, when I'm not, to use the term, backed into a corner type of thing, I'm benevolent. I look for ways to help people, to do what is good. And goodness is not based on, does it come from a book? It is something that you know here. And if you don't have that, if you're one of these Bible-thumping Christians that want to try and act like you need a book to tell you what is good, I hate to say it, you're a sociopath. Because even with a book telling you, it means you don't know. You don't feel it. You don't have the empathy or the ability to empathize. And that in and of itself marks you as a sociopath. And by all means, if that fits you, I know you'll dislike this video, but why not put it down there that you can't empathize with others so everyone else can see and know exactly who you are. Because the thing is, if there would be a force behind the universe, and I'm not opposed to it, if there would be something, it wouldn't be hateful. It wouldn't be saying, you don't believe in this or that, so you need to be hurt in any way. No, that's malevolent. If it is benevolent, if it is loving unconditionally, then the fact that you don't believe because there's not sufficient evidence in the shell that we're in, it would be, okay, so what? If, and I'm saying if there would be an energy form that would exist after death, it would be one of, as soon as you would exit the physical and enter that, you would be, wow, I never realized. And be one of, you would know that there wouldn't be, that in a sense, the proof that you would require in life that you don't have. It would be there, and basically like a ton of bricks, just here it is. The thing is, there would be no torture for not having thought a certain belief system. Because it comes down to that group is wanting to have you under their thumb. It's not about a God. It is about that group. Those people wanting to say, you have to be just like me or else. And that shows they are malevolent. This is something I wanted to get out. I recognize there might be some atheists that have a bit of a problem with it because I'm open to the God idea. I just don't see the evidence that would really convince me completely. But even if there would be something, it wouldn't be anything like what the Christian, Catholic, or Muslim religions are claiming. It would be something that loves. It would be something that accepts you as you are and would be not separate from you, but part of you. In a sense, that's the big kicker with this. And I'll wrap it up with this, is there was one point a friend of mine had me do it was a sensory deprivation experiment. And I was floating in his hot tub. Basically, I meditated in water that was matched to my body temperature. And I heard a female voice, this was late at night, that had said, why are you looking for us outside of you? We're in you, around you, we are you. And that really, it made sense in so many ways, and it touched me deep. The thing is, and there is the skeptical or atheist part of me that wants evidence. And I think it'll always be there. That part that wants to be able to say, here is the proof for this this anomaly, as far as we would see it in our human understanding. And if I don't have the ability to present the unequivocal evidence for it, I'll throw it out there as a thought. And even if I would have the evidence to support it, I still wouldn't say, you have to believe it or else. No. Even with mountains of evidence, it's the idea like UFOs. You can accept or reject it, and you're not going to be threatened by me. No matter how much, in a sense, I'm convinced by the evidence, it doesn't matter. The disbelief in it, or the refusal to believe in it, does not mean that you should be harmed in any way. That mindset is malevolent. It is not benevolent. It is wishing harm on others, and I simply won't do it. Talk to you later, guys.